world. Welcome back to this episode of Random Life. And as I was traveling to Kyrgyzstan this Monday, so I couldn't do it, so I'm doing it today. So today for Random Life, I want to talk about answering your questions that I have been collecting as well. And please keep bringing more questions so that I can answer them, so that it's useful for not only you, but many people who are watching and listening to me. So the questions that I'm answering today is I should have been further along in my career than I am now, so what to do? The second question is I'm losing both worlds, meaning not really feeling like where I want to be and also not really going to where I want to go, and therefore feeling like I'm losing both and what to do. And then the third one is what if it's the wrong decision, right? Transitioning, what if it's the wrong decision? And I also want to do a free training on this topic separately because this is a topic that I get asked the most, and I feel like I want to do a extensive training about how you can deal with it in your own pace, in your own way. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I want to answer as succinct as possible because I'm trying to make it half an hour or so that you have time to watch it. Okay, so let's start with the first question of I should have been further along in my career than I'm now and what to do, right? So if this is a topic that keeps happening to you or like keeps coming up for you, so here is how I would like for you to explore this further. So first, let's find out where do you believe you should have been by now, right? So some of the clients tell me that, well, I should have been by now at an international level as an international humanitarian worker working in different assignments because people who have started with me, they are already in that position, right? Other people say that I'm already an international, but I should have been further along, maybe in a different level or senior management level that I am. So whatever your situation is, let's first find out where do you believe you need to be or you need to have been by now and find out what that exact situation is. And then the second question I would like for you to explore is what are the main reasons you believe that you are not there where you should have been, right? Because there's always a reason why we're not there where we want it to be. And notice that when you start asking yourself this question, it's possible sometimes our brains tend to say things like, well, I didn't get that because of so and so. I didn't go to that position because the economy was bad or the competition was bad and all this kind of things. And if we do that, then we're not going to really find out what is the actual reason why we're not there in our career where other people that we know are, right? So if other people that we know are in the careers that we want it to be, then that means they have figured out a way to be there and we haven't figured out a way to be there, right? So therefore it's no longer about the economy or the competition. It's about something that we are not really doing or we haven't been doing or something that we have been doing that we're not leading us to the career that we want to. So that's why the second thing we want to know is what are the main reasons why we haven't arrived at the level that we want to. So I have been coaching on this an amazing client from India recently, and her answer. So she's already an international staff member, and she wants to go for a higher position in the senior management level. And I asked her, why do you think, like, where does she think that she wanted to be or she should have been, and she's not? And she said that she wanted to be at the UN terms, the P4 position. And then I asked her what are the main reasons, excuse me, why you are not there. And one of her answers, the main answer, was because of not speaking up. Not speaking up at meetings, at discussions, at planning meetings, not speaking up as much as she could have, and only speaking when absolute necessary, and that way not really being noticed by other colleagues. And therefore, she just being the person who just did all the things, and then the only way she could be noticed by other people is if she did a lot of the different results and then she was seen. But in day to day meetings, she wasn't really speaking up, and that was the reason. And then we started exploring, okay, what is the reason why she's not speaking up or she wasn't, right? Because of fear of judgment, right? Fear of judgment of other people judging us for what we're saying, how we're saying things, fear of not saying the right things, fear of being on the wrong side of the equation, of being the person who is against everyone else, or all of this type of overthinking that uh, kept her from speaking up at meetings. And that's what she believes is the main reason why she didn't get to the career that she wanted to, right? Now, once we start understanding, now we know what we can work on the most as we move forward in our careers, right? So with her, we're working on how she could speak up more in those meetings and planning meetings and staff meetings, all kinds of meetings, so that she can voice her own position, she can voice her opinion, her expertise in different ways, so that she gets noticed, but also she is standing by a certain position, and that's what's very valid, right? So obviously, if we speak up in a way that is just for the sake of publicity or just for the sake of showing off, then other people will notice it, other people will feel it, right? So that's why that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying about really showing your expertise and feeling free to contribute to improve, to make things better at work or to the people that you're serving in the way that makes sense and aligned with yourself. So that's the part of speaking up I'm talking about. So once we find out, then what is it that was the reason why we're not really there where we wanted to be, then we start actually, the third thing is we start not only working on them, but also starting to see what is changing and how it's changing, right? So with another client of mine who was telling me that, well, the same topic, right? I should have been further along in my career than I am, and then when I was exploring with her why that is, why she's not there where she thought she could be by now, is because she says that she just kept feeling like she needed to wait around for a lot of different things to happen together, right? So she kept waiting around for, well, I just need to be working as a national staff for 10 years before moving. I need to do lots of different positions before I go and do those things, right? And then she says that in the end, it turned out that's not the reason why people get promoted and go to the international position. And I was asking her, okay, what does she think is the reason why people get promoted to international positions, right? And she was saying that, well, I don't really know, but I don't really have the strength and energy to do that now because I just feel like I'm burned out and I don't really feel like I'm like whether my career even makes sense, right? If this is the type of person you are, where you feel like you have had a lot of dreams about being like furthering your career, but then you also feel like you're burned out and you don't really know which one to go for, whether to go or not. In this situation, I would like for you to first address the burnout first, process a lot of the emotions first, and then regulating your emotional state first, basically, and then calming to the like coming to a very peaceful, trusting place, and then make decisions about whether you want to continue thinking about furthering the career or doing something else, right? So in the first question, the simplified way of you addressing your own situation of where you believe you should be or you should have been and you're not, then understanding what are the where you should have been, like what is the level you should have been and why you are not, and working on those specific ways could be one of the best ways to get to where you want to, but also knowing that what are the obstacles that you haven't overcome, right? That's the other way to go about it, is that what are the obstacles that other people were willing to go through or overcome to get to the place that you haven't overcome, and why haven't you overcome them? Maybe there is a reason for not overcoming them, right? Maybe you are not really convinced about the international career, or that career growth, or that career furthering to begin with. And I think it might be very good for you to be very honest and intimate with yourself to ask, is that really what you want to do, right? Maybe on some level you don't want to do, and then therefore then accepting and honoring that might be better than keep wishing things were different than they are without ever doing anything about it. Another way that I have found that some humanitarians tell me that the reason why they haven't furthered their education, or sorry, their careers like other people, is because the way that other people have grown in the system by networking with people, or by kissing ass, or whatever the way that they describe, right? And I didn't want to do that, right? And that's absolutely fine. And I think what's important that in that moment we get though into the loop of, well, I'm not going to do the way that the others are doing it, and therefore I can't really go to further my career, which may not be true. You can be furthering your career in so many different ways. One of the best ways to do that, I believe, is by doing the work that you are hired to do in the best way possible, so that you can show the results, as well as your integrity and your attitude of how professional you are. This is one of the best ways to grow in the career ladder. But there are other ways to do that. So I would like for you to think about, what are your ways of furthering your career that feels, um, excuse me, that feels good to you, and not just like doing it the way that others are doing. Now, the second question is, I'm losing both worlds on what to do, right? So I had an amazing humanitarian approach me to say, I feel like I'm not really wanting to be where I am now because of the toxicity in the office, as well as a lot of the emotional reaction to those toxicity, which is making me burn out. And then at the same time, I'm not really doing the creative aspects of my life that I really wanted to do, because I'm afraid that that job is not going to pay well, or not going to sustain my work or my life. So therefore, I feel like I'm losing on both, and I don't really know what to do about it, right? And if this is the situation with you, here is the thing, is that as long as we keep in this situation of, I don't know what to do, I don't know which way to go, and then keep vacillating in this space, we're going to create more of the emotional turmoil within us that is not going to lead us to where we want to be. So therefore, we need to commit to one of the ways to make it work. Whatever the one that you choose most, whatever the one that feels most safe, I would say go for that first, because the currently, if you're experiencing burnout or other topics or other emotions, and other things are happening, and you feel like you just don't have the bandwidth for exploring the new career or new ways of working and finding job or whatever else you want to do, then maybe the safest option would be to how to make things work in the place where you are. Now, here are the challenges with that strategy that I recognize. One is that our brain may not even want to do that, because we don't even believe that we're going to stay where we are. We're not going, like, we don't want to stay where we are. We don't want to make things work where we are, because we just feel like we're burnout and it's just so heavy, right? And I totally understand that, except that if we're not going to process all of those emotions first, while we have our stable job or while we have our contract, if we don't do that, then we're going to be with our burnout in another field that we don't know much about, or we haven't explored. We don't know how it will work. If we go to that place, then we're going to be struggling not only with our burnout, but also with our stability seeking brain, who keeps bombarding us with all the fears of how we're going to stay on the road or on the street, and how are we going to be homeless without anything, and that will be even more difficult to handle. So therefore, I would say the first thing you can focus on is, okay, focusing on the emotional state, working through the burnout, taking time to rest or taking time to seek help, whichever the thing that works best for you. And then once you do that, then you feel like more calm and grounded, peaceful, confident, whichever the way that you feel. Then you look at it, okay, how can I make that certain things in my job work that I can do something about? So for maybe it's going for a promotion, going, changing jurisdictions, whatever it is. And then once you are there, or even within your own office, right? So how can I change my way of reacting to things so far? Because the way that I have been reacting so far have led me to feel this way. So now, how do I want to think about these situations that are unlikely to change? How do I want to interact with the situation that I have now? What can I do? What can I not do? And how to take care of myself better in the process. And then once you get to that place, then you may think about how to transition and where to transition and how to make things work. That might be easier or better to do it. At least that's what I have seen when coaching so many humanitarian clients is when we are already in emotional struggle, it might be even more difficult to add another transitioning to a totally new field, even though some people have done it and it absolutely works. But you need to know, obviously, yourself so well where how do you feel about not having the stability, having the burnout and leaving and then leaving to the unknown totally, and then starting something new. If you're someone who can manage all of those things, absolutely you decide. But I have seen that one of the strategies that I have used in my own life as well is before I was getting out, I actually got myself out of burnout, out of depression to a very good place where my career was actually growing so well. And then in that situation, when I was feeling very good about everything that was going on, except the impact I was making. And as soon as I went to that place, then I realized I don't really want to be here because no matter how much I change or try and work through things, I will probably never get to making the impact I want to. Therefore, I have left, right? So that's why this might be the way to address it. Now, the third question is what if it's a wrong decision to transition, right? And this is the topic that keeps coming up so much. And as I said, I'll probably do a separate training on this. But what I want to leave with currently is if this is the question you have, here are the ways that you can navigate through this. Excuse me, I think we oftentimes forget that wrong decision is a subjective view of someone, right? So in other words, it's like whether something is wrong or not depends on the person where who's making that judgment call. In other words, if you are saying the transitioning would be a wrong decision, now ask yourself how will you know or why it is a wrong decision, right? What is your definition of wrong decision? So over the years of coaching so many humanitarians, wrong decision that they have told me is when they are not really making the money they want to, they are not really doing the things they want to, and possibly they're struggling through and struggling in their lives if they transition to something new, and therefore they don't want to do that, and they want to just feel at least stable, feel at least that they can support themselves, and this is very human way of wanting things, right? So therefore, if we know that what the wrong decision for you is, more specifically or with more details of how wrong decision could be for you, how you would know, then we start realizing what that looks like in how to not let us get to that place, right? How to not let us get to that place. And the only way you can make sure that this happens, that you don't let yourself get to that place, is by getting ready for it, right? By getting ready for it financially, getting ready for it emotionally, getting ready for it with your loved ones, with other arrangements that you have so that you're not in the middle of transitioning and then you are feeling like you don't know where to go and how to go. And then the only place that you can think of going is coming back to what you know, which you didn't even want to be there in the first place, right? So therefore, we need to start understanding not only what if it's a wrong decision and not do anything, because that's what I see most of the humanitarians are doing is they just keep telling themselves, well, what if it's a wrong decision? And then they just freeze themselves and then they don't really go further, do anything about it. Instead of understanding, okay, what would be my version of wrong decision? How would that look like? And what are the ways that I could do, or I could get ready, or I could prepare myself so that that wrong decision does not happen, or I know how to get out of that situation instead of just caving in and going back to what I know, which is the thing that I didn't want in the first place. And I think that's the part we're not working on at all. And that's the part that I would love to encourage for you to work on is take a bit of an ownership of what if it's a wrong decision is like as if we're not owning that decision, right? So whatever the decision that we make, we need to be the one owning that decision and then saying, okay, if the things go wrong, let's say my version of wrong, let's say that I don't make things work and things fall apart, whatever it is, then what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of that situation? What are the things that I need to put in place so that even if that thing happens, I do know how to get out of that situation, right? And that's the part that I think we're not really working on. And I would suggest work on that more than actually keep wondering whether it's a wrong decision because no one is going to be able to tell you whether it's a wrong decision or not in advance, let alone about your unique situation except yourself, right? And you know it as well as I do. And I think what we end up doing is we just, because we keep thinking that what if it's a wrong decision or it will be a wrong decision, we just don't take ownership of whether it's wrong or not. It's our labeling, right? Our like definition of what wrong is. And if we believe this is the wrong way to for things to turn out, then what are we going to do? Blame ourselves? And many times that's what we have done in the past, right? We have just blamed ourselves or blamed others, and therefore we have really felt so frustrated, and then we felt like the only thing we can do is now go back to what we know. But what if that was not the answer? Or what if that didn't need to be the answer, right? And if it's not the answer, then what are we going to do? Then we don't need to blame ourselves. We don't need to blame others, except again, taking ownership, taking responsibility for our decision, and then the consequences of that decision, and then figure out how to get out of that situation that we don't want to be, and then keep moving towards what we want to. Because whenever people say to me as well, they like, what if it's a wrong decision to transition? They somehow feel like then if they make a mistake and if they fail or whatever, then they will suffer more. That's what they usually believe, right? But they don't really think about all the ways they're suffering currently. So therefore, if they're suffering currently, then why not figure out a way to get ourselves out of that suffering, even using our current situation, so that later when we are actually in transitioning and certain things will not go according to our plan, then we know how to get out of it without blaming ourselves or others, but also um, managing and regulating our fear and other emotions so that we continue going forward. Excuse me. So that's why I would love for you to think about why are you not moving from just labeling things, what if it's a wrong decision, and not do anything about it. Because if you just keep waiting for someone else to tell you, well, it's actually not a wrong decision, excuse me, it is actually the right decision. Here is why. If you're waiting for someone to tell you, then I would like for you to also get curious as to who you are getting or trying to get this assurance from, and why do you want someone else's assurance and not yourself, right? And if you're not getting your own assurance, why not? Why are you not wanting to stand by your choices or decisions to go to what you want to do, right? Why are you not um, standing by it yourself, but you are somehow believing that other people can give you that assurance more? And this is something that you can start thinking about. And then the more you start thinking about around this wrong decision and what would make it a wrong decision and how to get out of that situation, whatever the consequence of that wrong decision is, then we gain this freedom and trust to say, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to make it work whichever way, right? And I love to make decisions, as I always say, from the place of I could make things work from whichever the way I go in my decision. If I go in the decision of going towards what I want to or go making things work wherever I am now, I could make either way work. Except the only thing I would look at is, okay, do I really see myself genuinely doing this and wanting to do this, believing, standing behind this thing? Do I really genuinely want to do this long term? And if the answer is yes, absolutely. Maybe you can make the current situation work. And if you don't want to make the current situation work, again, you can ask the question of why do you not want to make it work? And I'm sure you have a lot of reasons for that. And if you then you can think about, okay, do I really want to address and work on those reasons? Or I want to make the new thing, the new chapter in my life happen. And here are the ways I want to make it happen. And here are the ways it's possible it's a wrong decision, your label, right? Whatever that is. And then how am I going to rectify and go through it and go to the other side? That's what I would like for you to focus on. Because in the end of the day, either way, there might be difficulties that and challenges we need to address. And which one are we addressing it that makes us stronger versus which one we keep addressing that keeps making us even more frustrated, exhausted, or more powerless. And I would like for you to really think about which one of the challenges I address and grow by doing that rather than keep feeling powerless. So, my dears, I hope that this was very helpful for you to think about and navigate these questions for yourself. And if you would like to work on this together, then I would love to invite you to my group coaching on big transitioning for humanitarians, where we are diving into all of these topics and questions in details. And I would love for you to come and get ready for your own unique transitioning and making it happen within a year instead of just keep feeling in this indecision of not knowing which way to go and losing a lot of time and keep postponing things or keep postponing your life that you really want to live. So, have an amazing time. Thank you so much. And if you want to join my group coaching, message me or book your call.